Alrighty. So, can you guys hear me okay? Let's see here. Alright. Hopefully you guys can hear me okay. So, what prompted this was I was talking to Luke Hatfield in a group chat I had, and he was saying a lot of people are having issues with the Ender 5 Plus and interference with the BL Touch where the probes are false triggering and just not working correctly. So, he sent me a video where he's bonding wires to try to get grounding good, and I was like, well, I've already replaced my PSU with a Meanwell, and I have the stock power supply here, so I dug this out, and I tested the ground, and I want to show you guys what I found, because I was having a lot of issues with this PSU in terms of it smelled terrible. Like, when I put the bed load on there, it smelled like it was about to let the smoke out, and at one point it shut off on me. So I replaced it. But it still does power up, and it still does work. But let me just show you guys here. So I'm going to switch over to my supplementary camera here. Can you guys still hear me good okay with my microphone over here? All right. So I need to move my camera preview over here so I can see what you guys see to make sure you guys can actually still see. All right. I got my my focus adjust software going here just in case I need to use that. Let's see, closer, farther. All right. So on this power supply, so this is taken out of my Ender 5 Plus. I got my multimeter here, and I'm just going to set this on. Let me back off my light here because it's blowing everything out. So you guys should still be able to see pretty good. All right. So if I connect my two probe leads together, we should see it go to 0 and it's going to beep. Okay. So on our Ender 5 Plus PSU, we've got all these terminals here. Okay. So we've got from left to right, 3 voltage positive outputs, 3 voltage negatives. These are your DC 24, earth, ground, neutral, and line. Okay, so these are your 3 AC terminals. So if this PSU is built correctly, I should get continuity between this ground terminal and the chassis. So let's see what I get. I'm stabbing this because I want to get through this protective coating here. Which you can see, there's nothing. Absolutely no continuity. Now here, if I press down on this lead here, okay, real hard. Oh, I was getting continuity because I'm flexing the PCB. Let me see here. Just make sure the probe's still, there you go, it's still working. Let me see if I press down on the circuit board. Oh, look at that. I get some continuity. I'm really pressing hard on this. Okay, so under normal circumstances, there's no continuity, no ground at all. Meaning, if there's ever a situation where your AC power comes in contact with the chassis of the printer, it's going to go through your body, okay? This is a huge problem. So, what you think the pins deflect? Well, we're going to find out. So let me open this up. We got 4 screws, 1, 2, 3, 4 on the sides, and then 2 more on the top. These 2. So let's take these off, and there's usually a screw right next to them. That usually bonds the ground to the chassis. Now, not every power supply in these Ender 5 Pluses is going to be like this, but every power supply should have a proper ground, period. I don't care who's making it. If it doesn't have a ground, it's a safety hazard. Okay, so I got this removed. And typically this screw right here is going to be what's going to clamp the ground to the chassis of the thing. So I'm going to tighten this screw up and then check continuity again. It's in there. Let me do this. Let me back it off. Okay. Let me see if there's any like plastic or anything in there. I don't see anything. Just the post for the screw. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in, and I'm going to tighten this sucker down. This is the crappy off-brand. This is Chingling power supply. It's crap. It's absolute garbage. So I am tightening the living hell down out of this without stripping the screw. And now let's see if I have continuity. Look at that, 0.1. Okay. Now my multimeter is yelling at me because it's been on. All right, so that's got a good ground. So all they had to do was tighten the screw down, and you'll get grounding on the chassis. What I am going to do now, though, is let's take this apart. I want to see what the bottom of this looks like and see if there's anything underneath it that could be preventing the continuity. Let me see here. I'm going to peel back this sticker here of Chinese crap power supply. And it looks like this center screw here. Actually, maybe these 2 screws. Oh, there's one under here. QC passed. Yeah, quick check. He just looked over and go, oh yeah, that's good. And sent it off to you guys. Because he doesn't give a shit. I actually think I'm going to take out all 3 screws here. So there's one that's holding these 2 FETs to the board. Or to the side wall. So they can heat sink. Creality and all these other companies don't give a shit about your guys' safety. You know why? Because they care about making money more instead. They could have spent $40 extra and put a decent power supply in here, but that would cut into their profit. So guess what? They don't. Here's the thing I'd like to point out. So here, on these screws too, this is another thing that needs to be checked. It's all this little stuff that they don't have attention to, okay? Let me focus this here. Okay, do you see that? That's plastic. That's like a coating that's over the aluminum that they didn't peel off before they put the screws in. Okay? If there's plastic between the screws that are responsible for making ground contact, guess what? It's going to insulate it. Some of them, it's not going to matter because it'll poke through elsewhere. But the point is, it shouldn't be on there. So I'm going to put these two screws back in and hold there. There's like a aluminum plate here to space these out. And I don't need to take that plate off, so I'm going to go ahead and put these screws back in so I don't have that plate flopping about when I take the board out. Although, I should be able to get the board out without taking the plate off. I just need to move the plate back. So the only reason for this is because they're using cheap, no-name power supplies to cut cost because they're cheap. Like, they're being cheap. This is literally the only reason that they don't put name brand power supplies in here. Or even go with a halfway decent off-brand company that actually knows how to quality check their stuff. This was a huge problem on the Ender 3 printers. There's videos about checking the Ender 3s as well. And it's a widely known issue with these type of power supplies, okay? Now, you can go through and take it apart like I'm doing now and do all these checks. Personally, the reason this is not in my printer anymore is because I don't trust the damn thing. And I put the Meanwell in it that we saw on the site. So you can either try to fix this, and it might last you a little while, or just put a name brand power supply in there and be done with it. So, I mean, it's your guys' call, because at the end of the day, they're selling you a kit printer, so legally speaking, you assembled it, you're responsible if it burns your house down. So try explaining that to your homeowner insurance why this power supply burnt things up. I may be a little exaggerating, but I don't trust these damn things. All right, let's get this board out of here. Let's see what's underneath. All right. That's some bodgy work right there. Look at that. It's because they cheaped out on the copper on the PCB. There's literally a piece of metal wire, I guess, or just a piece of steel soldered on the back to increase how much current it can actually carry. You see this? And it's soldered like garbage. Look at this. This is disgusting. This is disgusting work here. You won't see this kind of shit in a Meanwell. I'll tell you that right now. You won't see this kind of crap in a Meanwell power supply, period. Like, they put this adhesive on here, okay? It's not really going to do much of anything because there's not much adhesive. And then what's this doing? There's a blob of adhesive just, like, we're just going to put it right here? Like, why? This is doing nothing. Like, it's so crappy. Look at this. Oh, man. Are these even connected? Okay, look at this. Do you see those leads that are bent over, almost touching that other trace there? You guys see that? See how close I can focus in on this. This camera actually gets pretty close. Look at that. I don't think there's a trace between that. I'm going to bend those leads up and investigate further. But I'm pretty sure those are not supposed to touch. Let me look here. Yeah, there's definitely no electrical connection between these two. So I scraped off the silk screen here. And there's no copper below that, but those pins were real close to touching that other trace. Like, see these pins I bent up here? Instead of them just trimming them to the correct length, they just bend them over and hope for the best. Man, look how... Okay, look how cheap this PCB is. Do you see the PCB lifted up? Just from me lifting that pin up? So, I'm not even going to put this back together, because this thing's a pile of shit. And, YouTube disclaimer, this channel is not for kids. I don't know if you guys have been keeping up with all the YouTube stuff going on, but they're cracking down on made-for-kids content. Which, this channel ain't for fucking kids. I'll tell you that right now. God. Like, they didn't even wash the board well. Like, look at this. So, yeah, you can see here. So, this right here is what makes contact. So, here's your ground terminal, okay? Ground terminal. Here's your neutral. Here's your line. Here's your ground. It snakes over here, and it goes onto this screw terminal. So, if this screw is loose, you have no grounding on the printer. Okay, and you can see here, and Luke, you might want to pay attention because you were asking about this and we were talking about this. You can see right here, too, this other screw on this other side. Let me get in closer here. So, this other screw has to be tight, too, because this is bonding to Earth, and there's a little cap there that goes over to your negative. Okay, is that your negative or is that your positive? Oh, that's your positive here. Because usually there's some sort of... Yeah. Hang on, I'm just looking at the layout here. So I get the stuff right. That's going to here. I'm just looking at this. Hang on. But either way, this screw on the other side here, okay, bonds to your Earth through the chassis. So if this isn't making good contact, this isn't making good contact... And the filtering is not going to work correctly. Because if we look over here, we flip the board over. I believe this is a ceramic type cap right here. It's labeled CY5. Okay, so that's connected to the Earth, which then jumps over to our V+. And here's our V negative. I believe it's going over through a resistor. Hang on, I'm trying to see where this is all going. Yeah, so there's a resistor here, okay, that jumps over to the DC negative. And this is done for filtering here, okay? So if this isn't tightened down, you're going to have issues. And if this isn't tightened down, you're going to have issues. So obviously I took this out, so I can't test the continuity on this one here. But this one was completely open. Your ground was completely open. And this is going over... What do we got right here? We got some more... I believe these are filter caps here. Griffin, if you're watching, correct me if I'm wrong. I believe that's what those little blue things are. But anyways, crappy PSU design aside, they still haven't learned. They're still not shipping power supplies that have a freaking ground on them. Like, these back corner screws don't have anything going on. These are just physical mounting points. And look at this. Look at this. There's actually a fifth one. You want to see the lack of attention to detail. See this hole here in the center of the board? There's a standoff for it. And they just put it right over. Because, you know, let's save a cent here by not putting one of the screws in. Even though we have a standoff for it. Yep, sure as shit, that lines up. See, there's a post in there? So, unless they ordered the wrong thing, you can see here where it was poking up through. It's great. So, yeah, if you've got one of these PSUs, check this screw and this screw. Make sure they're tightened down. This plastic guard underneath here, looking at how this is, so if you look here, if I put this back in, you'll see that this should go around the post, so that this shouldn't be over the posts here, because they do have cutouts here. But then again, they changed these. This same PSU could be assembled differently depending on what Chinese factory made it. It's one of the things I don't like about these. You could get a good one, you could get a bad one. This is a really bad one. Like this oversight here, let's screw it. Let's just not put this 5th screw in. Like, it screams cheap crap. Cheap crap. So, you know, no, it doesn't matter. Add a ground wire to the case. The power supply itself has to be grounded. As I showed you here, this has to get ground for all the filtering to work for your DC side. So you would have to put a ground on here, because here's the thing. This is one solid piece of metal, okay? So if these two are making contact, it's going to get ground through the plate. Whereas if you add another one coming off here to the chassis, you got to hope that this screw's still making contact, because if this one's not, it's still not going to work correctly. You need to open it up just like I did here. You don't have to take the board out. Take the side screws out, the 6 screws, the 2 on each side, 2 on the top, and then crank these screws down. This one here and this one here. Or throw this in the trash and pick up a real power supply. I don't trust these in my shop, in my house. I will not use off-brand power supplies. Any printer that comes in here with an off-brand power supply, I'll use it for the review, and then as soon as it goes into my farm or into my personal farm in here, it gets a mean wheel, because I will not trust anything else. I have had these go out a number of years ago, these off-brand ones, where like the NTCs will burn up or the caps will blow out. I don't trust them. It's not worth me having a power supply blow out at the very least, or it surges and it blows out the other parts of my computer, my control board, my bed leveling sensor, my LCD, whatever else is on that machine, or at the very worst case, it starts a fire. So that's my take on these. If you guys want to try to fix yours, if you have the grounding, at least now you know how to check it. But you should have, both these screws need to be tightened down so that they make connection with the chassis and there's ground here. So, you know, the thing is, if you run a wire from your outlet to the chassis of this, and this isn't making connection here, this other screw that connects it to the filtering for the DC side, you're still going to have issues. That's what you're missing here. Doesn't matter. You could put 50 wires on the outside of the chassis. If this screw's not making contact, it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean shit. So you should open these up and check continuity. Now on this one, if you want to verify continuity of the ground, since I opened this up, I can show you guys. So you should have continuity on this side of the leg to ground. So this side of the leg of this, you can probably get your probe down in there. I'm looking else. That's the only place that's connected to it. I don't see any other way you could check that. But this has to be making contact, and this has to be making contact. Adding a million ground wires onto your power supply chassis isn't going to do shit if this one especially isn't connected. It'll bypass the need to check this one, but you're still not going to be able to check this one. So that's my take. That's why I took this out, is I wanted to see if they are doing some sort of filtering, which they are. And this filtering requires that this actually has a solid ground connection. So if this is not making connection, this isn't going to be able to filter correctly. Okay? So this one and this one need to be good. Let's say this one let's say this one's not making contact, or sorry, let's say this one's not making contact, but this one is, and then you ground the chassis, then it'll be okay. But this really should be grounded. This should have a connection. And I'm just looking here. I'm willing to bet. I'm just looking on here to see. So, I mean, even if you crank this down, this has still got a decent amount of surface area in solder to bite onto. And I'm getting thermal paste all over my hands. So, anyways, I was actually editing the video for the CR10S Pro Easy ABL installation. Again, replacing crap parts. on these Chinese machines. And Luke was, I was chatting with Luke. I was like, you know what? Let me check mine. Because when I ran the BL Touch accuracy test with this one in there, it was terrible. It was like 0.04, 0.05 millimeters of accuracy, which is terrible even for a BL Touch. And this would definitely contribute to that issue. So I don't even know why I'm putting this back together. This is going literally in the trash. So I'm going to save these screws though. Can always use some M3 screws though. So at least I got something out of it. I got some screws. But in my opinion, let me switch back over here. In my opinion, a printer that costs $550 should not have these problems. They shouldn't be using these crap power supplies in something that they're touting as a plus model, as in it's a higher end model. I understand plus also is a denotation that it's a bigger machine, but it's supposed to be one of their higher end machines. They shouldn't be putting this crap in the Ender 5 Plus, period, in my opinion. So I'm not recycling the case. It's in the trash. It's staying there. I don't hang on to these power supplies. They go in the garbage. They're not. I wouldn't want to give it to somebody else and them have an issue. Should save the caps, the crap no-name Chinese caps that are on there. I'll go buy some Rubicons or Nichicon. Nichicon, is that it? I don't know how since I bought caps. I think Nichicon. Nichicon, Panasonic. Yep. Anyways, so they're not charged still. This has been sitting for a couple days. Let's see what brand are they? Capcom? No. They're JWCOs, which are trash. JWCO caps are garbage. So yeah, like I just moved the input caps, like these big ones. They weren't even really held down with the little dab of adhesive they put over here. But these are JWCOs. So JWCO is a crap company for capacitors. They're cheap. That's about it. So I thought Creality would have learned after there was a rash of Ender 3 power supplies that had this same exact issue, but apparently they didn't. They didn't communicate to their supplier because that Chungling brand is the same brand that they were using on the Ender 3s that had the same exact grounding problem. There's a video on this channel called PSU Grounding Roulette where I took a stack of them that were power supplies I took off of our Ender 3s in the print farm because we put mean wells on them, and I want to say almost every single one had an open or bad ground. So yeah, that's about it. I really don't have much more to say on the topic. Me personally, I replace the PSUs. I don't care if you guys get one from us. We do sell them. I put a link in the description. We sell them for the 5 Plus, the Ender 3, the Ender 5. We carry power supplies for most of the printers out there that are the Creality machines. So don't care if you get them from us. You can get them from Mauser, DigiKey, if you're outside the US, whatever other sellers. Get rid of the crap power supply. It's not worth it. It's going to save you a lot of headaches. It's going to cause a lot of issues that you're not immediately going to realize why something's not working correctly. Like in this case, the BL Touch. The BL Touch has on that printer has I believe it's about 1 meter of cable that's run next to all the other heaters and the fan wires, and it's not shielded. Meaning it's going to pick up interference, which is going to affect how the sensor works and how accurate the reading is coming from it. So yeah, that's about it. I don't think Meanwhile would ever revert to crappy quality components because they've been around since I think late 1970s, early 80s at the very least, and they've always made quality parts. That's what they do. That's why their stuff costs more. Like, I could buy 4 of the crap power supplies for less than what it cost me to buy one of those ones we're selling on the site. Like, yeah. Yeah, BL Touch and end stop false triggering. Yep. EMI's a bitch. And EMI can be caused mostly by crap power supplies. So that's about it. Oh, you meant Creality. Well, they've been switching out crap components. These are crap components. Power supply is a component. It's a crap component. My Commodore 64 that's downstairs, that still powers up, and the power supply still works for, that's got a mean well in it, and that thing's from the early 80s. Still works. So that's about it. So hopefully you guys can get some use out of this video. Check your stock power supply. If you can't afford to replace the power supply right now, at least check the grounding and tighten those 2 screws down. I would personally just open it up and retighten both of those down, since we know the other side is being used for the power filtering, because you can check the ground, and if your ground's good, that other one could be loose, and it's still going to cause problems. So both those screws on either side towards the front of the power supply, and I'm calling the front of the power supply the one where the side where the terminals are that you actually connect everything to, check both of those screws and tighten them down. So I would back them out, tighten them back down, and then check continuity on the ground, and check it on the other screw as well. Go on the screw head. You'll probably get continuity. It's not really going to tell you if the PCB, I guess it's not really going to tell you if the PCB is getting continuity, but you can at least verify that it's got continuity to the screw, and assume that because you tightened it down tight, the rest of the PCB is going to make contact with the post. The PSU on the King Rune is garbage. I've already replaced it. I didn't have a failure with it, but I'll grab that one too while we're at it. So, same no-name Chinese crap power supply. This is what came in the King Rune. Definitely a different board than the one we just took apart, but for shits and giggles, I've got the meter out. Let's see what this ohms out at. All right, ground terminal, chassis. Oh wow, look at that, it's actually grounded. Okay, well, at least it's got that going for it. Let's see inside that one. Sure, why not? But then I gotta get back to editing videos for our products. This one says 2019 QC inspected, boys. If you didn't buy a mean well, don't trust it, because here's the thing: all these LED power supplies you see on Amazon, they're the same garbage that these are. If it's not a mean well, it's probably garbage. You couldn't order enough time to offset the time spent on these crap machines, Luke. Oh no, I broke the QC label. It smells like China. So, I mean, nothing too crazy. Do I got a part number somewhere on the board? You can see much smaller caps on this one, but this is only rated at 360 watts, and the other one was rated at 500 watts. Oh, there's a part number right here. I might not kill this one because this could do in a pinch. Like, I don't get what the point of this glue is here. SY-008B. I'm like, what is this holding in place? Were they trying to get the coil here? I mean, look at this. You won't see this kind of shit in a mean well. You see this? Garbage. You get what you pay for, guys. I'm not up here preaching about power supplies to sell you guys power supplies. It's almost like I care about people not burning their shit down. The mean wells have tariffs on them. I would know, because I order a lot of them. Fine, whatever. Let's take it apart. I am beholden to you guys, my viewers. I have to attempt to make you guys happy. At least then I can make someone happy in my life. Well, wait, did I take this one out, or did they just not put a screw in here? I've got 2 screws I definitely took out over here. There's no screw here. I don't think there ever was, because there's a, I don't know, a coffee stand or something. Same Meanwhile models Ender 3. Yeah, there's a video on the stream where I replaced the, I'm assuming you're talking about the King Rune. There's a stream, the last stream I did was replacing the King Rune. The PSU cover, the Ender 3 power cables, and the PSU. We have everything in there, and I showed how to replace it. It's not that hard. Just take your time. All right, let's see what's under here. Oh, God, I'm going to get thermal paste all over me again. Okay, so I mean, like this. There's like, just, I mean, this isn't going to hurt anything, but it's just, I don't know, lack of attention to detail. You don't see this kind of crap in the Meanwhiles. Like, the Meanwhiles look nice. Like, you see how this piece of plastic actually has the cutout for the centerpiece? This one looks a little better than the last one in terms of soldering. But you can see here, there's a little filtering circuit here, just like on the other one. But where's that running to? That's running all the way over to here. See, this is the ground on this side too. Looks a little better, to be completely honest. Let me get my focus tool up, hang on. I gotta... Closer. There we go. Money shot. A little better. That's kind of bodgy right there. That guy right there. I've seen worse. It's not terrible. So there's our main power output there. So, but you can see here, this power supply is actually sized so they can actually use it with multiple different wattages. Because you can see here, here's where a FET would go that's not populated. They only populated one here. So they probably use this circuit board for multiple different models. We got a rectifier right here. Here's our input caps. I'm assuming these are discharged. Let's find out. I know this isn't the proper way to do it, but I don't really care about this PSU. So, I mean, it's what I'd expect. It's not terrible. It's not good. I mean, it's just, like, look at this. Like, do you see this? They didn't even push the leg all the way through. Like, that component should not be sticking up like that. This should not be flapping about in the breeze. Like, you get what you pay for, guys. It's really what it comes down. Like, look at this. Should have been up, but it was pushed down. I'm going to throw this out. Like, just look at that. It's so sloppy. It's just so haphazardly put together. Like, look at it. There's all these components. But this is how all these cheap ones here. We got more JWCO caps. What are these? Nippon Chemicon. This one looks like it's got a dent in it. Like, I can feel a dent in this one. And these are JWCOs as well. So, like, part of me, like look at this. Do you guys see this? Like, you couldn't even push the leg through all the way? Like, come on. There we go. It's dead. It's going in the garbage. But look at this. This is why I don't like these. They're built like crap. They're just cheap garbage. And like here's what I'm saying about the plastic. Okay? Like, they don't even make sure all the plastic is off before they close these up. Because here's the thing. It grounds through these things mating up. Okay? But if there's plastic in the way, you know, they just yeet the screws right through the plastic. Like, I'm sure sometimes or most of the time it makes some contact, but it's not what you do. You don't. I've taken apart many mean wells. I don't find this kind of crap inside a mean well where there's like a coating or plastic still on here. Like, it's all done up nicely. Like, you can see there's still plastic shavings in here. Like, if I move the plastic thing here, like, there's still plastic. You know, but it costs more to make mean wells because it takes way more, you know, labor and time, which is cheap as hell over there. You know, you got like labor over there for $1 to $2 an hour. But still. Should I keep this the QC pass sticker for the for the Ender 5 Plus? Quick check passed. I don't know if I have any mean wells just floating in here. Let me nose around in my drawers. Because they usually get put on printers if I have extras. So I don't take my... Try not to take them for inventory. Or take them out of inventory. Oh, is this one? I don't know. So this is what the Ender 5 uses. The Landy. Same exact part number as this. These are a little better than the other knockoffs, I've noticed. These are actually built halfway decent. I'm not going to tear this one down because I do use this one for bench testing stuff because it is halfway decent. I believe this has JWCL caps in it though. But out of all the crap knockoff brands, the Landys seem to be the better, but I still don't trust them. That's why I have this floating in here because we pulled this out of our Ender 5. So, but I'm not going to kill this one. Or these are Capscon, so slightly better than JWCO. Still Chinese crap, but I don't know if I have a mean well in here. That's just not on a printer. Let me see. If you want me, I could probably take the one off my ANET. Actually, I have to take the one off my Woody because I realized why it was a customer return. The fan doesn't work, so let's replace the fan. Where's my hex? Yeah, this, where are my hex wrenches? I had them. There they are. So, the PSU that Woody has was a customer return, and the fan doesn't work. So that's something I'm gonna replace right now. That's 3 of like 600 that I've actually had where they had an issue. So that's pretty good in my book. All right. So yeah, so this was a customer return that the PSU fan wasn't coming on, and there was no notes on it. I powered it on, and the fans are temperature controlled, so I did not realize until I was using it. I'm like, that fan hasn't come on ever. Didn't overheat though, or maybe Woody just doesn't load it enough. I'm not sure, but whatever. Let's replace it. So here's the mean wheel. I'm going to test the fan to see if it actually works. I'm going to hook it up to my bench supply. But this is their LRS series, which is their slimline one. You can see here, we got Rubicon caps here. Got some nice Rubicon caps in there. What are these? Lelone? Which, if I've actually never heard of Lelone, but I'm assuming if Meanwell's using them, they're probably good. So, but you can see here, like, look at the difference in the build quality. Like, this doesn't move. This isn't flapping about in the breeze. We got a nice little transformer there. You know, it's way better built than, let me adjust my focus here, than the Chinese one. Night and day. You know, and this is slimmer too. This is the same wattage output as the King Rune one that I took apart. And it's thinner. It's more efficient. And it's just a better PSU. Just a better built PSU. So, you know, all these caps, these are all Rubicon caps. All these. All Rubicon. If you got any component nerds in here, Lelon, Lelone is the brand of, these are the input caps here, which those might be charged. I'm going to stay away from those. So let me check this fan on my bench supply and see if it actually is bad, or if, because I'd have to load this power supply to get it to kick on. I could also literally just wire the fan, like wire this new fan in, so it's just always on. I might even just do that, to be completely honest with you guys, because this is another thing, when you guys are replacing your fans in your power supply, check to see what the fan actually says, because even the 24 volts sometimes have 12 volt fans. This is a 12 volt power supply, it has 12 volt fans. I'm pretty sure all the Meanwells have 12 volt fans inside them, but I've seen the other no-name ones have 24 volt or 12 volt in the 24 volt line models, if that makes sense. So let me see if this fan works or not. So the fan does work. I'm wondering if maybe it just wasn't getting hot enough to cause the fan to come on. Let's take a look. Let's see. Because there was one other one in the past I've had where there was, the fan wasn't coming on, and it was because there was a bad solder joint on the back, and I tacked it back down, and lo and behold, it started working. So, let's see. I'm just going to crudely discharge these caps. Oh, you know what? These are probably actually discharged because I have the printer on a, yeah. I have the printer on a Wi-Fi switch, so it shuts down after printing, so it's actually probably been off for a couple days, now that I think about it. So that makes sense. We got 37 people watching, but only 10 likes. Really, guys? I risk my life for you guys, for your education, entertainment, and the best I get is 10 likes. See how it is. See how it is. And we're looking a little better. Smash like and subscribe. I don't really take YouTube too seriously, if you guys haven't figured that out. You really can't, because if you did, you'd be pissed off all the time. So last time I had an issue with a fan not kicking on, it was, getting thermal jizz all over me. There was a little fet on here that wasn't soldered all the way. I don't see anything. Unless I'm blind. So here's our fan header down here, so the control circuit is going to be right around here. I mean, you can see here the soldering looks nice on this. So, I'm just trying to see if I can find anything that's visibly not soldered that should be soldered. Or, you know, I could just be retarded and that printer doesn't have enough juice to get the fan to kick on. Or enough draw, I should say. Here's another thing. I don't know if you guys noticed this. Do you notice the isolation here? From the high and low voltage? I believe that's what that is. Is that the... Yeah. So here's all our high voltage shit. Okay. These are our low voltage. So here's our ground. I'm getting thermal paste all over my hands here. Maybe I'm special in the... I just wasn't drawn enough from that printer for the fan to kick on. But I feel like it was twitching at one point. So maybe this fan is just like on its way out. Doesn't feel bad if I spin it by hand. You know what? I'm just going to swap it out. I'm going to wire it to be always on. Because screw it. The PSU works great otherwise. I took it apart, damn it. I'm going to do something to it. Here, let's go switch over to the scope. Or actually, let me switch. I'll just get the arm cam up and close here. We'll see if we can see anything. Focus, you fuck. So, in this area is where I saw issues before when I had a fan not working. I mean, maybe I'll touch some of these solder joints up, but they don't look bad. They look like every other Meanwhile supply I've seen. Because that little, see that little 2-pin header in the center there with the, or that 2-pin right here? That's our fan header, I believe, on the other side. Yes, it is. So there's a cap right here, and that's the fan header. And when I manually focus this camera, it actually gets pretty close. So that little transistor there, or FET, whatever the hell you want to call it, that's what I saw before wasn't fully soldered, why the fan wasn't working right. But I mean, that's like, so you got to remember, this is lead-free solder. It's gonna look like a cold joint because it's lead-free. Like most lead-free solder looks like a cold solder. So anyways, I actually am going to be right back. let me let me put a little thing up here. So hang on, bear with me. I'm gonna replace the fan here in a sec, but let me be right back. I'm gonna give myself 5 minutes here. BRB start, and I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. I just realized that song wasn't 5 minutes long. Um, So, all right. Switch back over here. I'm going to see if I can visually see anything. No, I don't see anything that would be causing this to not kick the fan on. I'm going to assume that either it was actually just not kicking on because it wasn't getting hot enough. But either way, I'll show you guys how to wire fans so they're always on. Because I have this shut down after a print, so it's not that big of a deal. Now, if you noticed, the little thermal pad here came off. Now, if you're really anal about it, you could reapply some new thermal paste, but I'm not going to. It's kind of a pain to get these back in there with these little pads here sometimes. Come on. As you can see, they don't always want to walk back down in. So sometimes you have to pull the FETs back. There we go. So, anyways, I'm going to put the little mounting bars back on here. It's a little bit of pain on these sometimes because it's so tight. And I have big American fingers here, so. Come on. There we go. The hole for the thermistor. What are you talking about? Oh, you guys are having a chat. Okay, you guys are having a chat in the discussion there. Okay. I was confused. There's a little sidebar going on in chat right now about thermistors. I wonder if the thermistor is the issue why this doesn't kick on. Maybe it's got a bad thermistor, and that's why the fan never kicks on. Who knows? I'm not going to worry about it because I'm just going to have the fan run all the time. And the printer shuts off after a print, so don't really care about the noise because it's not going to be running because the printer shuts off after a print. All right. And what are we talking about thermistors for? Someone got a bad thermistor? So I'm just going to put this back together. I'll show you guys what I do. So to wire these on all the time, you can actually, so you've got these three are the V plus, these three are the V negative, and I'm actually only using the center four here, so this works out. You can actually slip the wires up back behind, okay? So they're still inside the PSU. So what I'm going to do, I've got enough wire here. And there's usually enough of a hole here. Let me grab can snake it up the back here. Come on. You can do it. These tweezers do not have much grabbing power. So, see here, I got the wire up through. And of course, it's not going to focus. Let me switch over to my Logitech camera software. Closer. Oh, So if you see here, I pulled it up through the hole here, and then all I'm going to do is tighten the screw down on here. Now, this may be a little trickier if you have terminals where you're using all of them, but it makes for a cleaner installation because I'm only using 4 of the 6 terminals here on this particular machine. I just use my screwdriver to widen the hole a little bit. You could put it through the front if you wanted to. I just like this because it's cleaner, because then you don't see it. But now I know the fan will always be on, and I don't have to worry about if the temp control circuit's working. So there we go. I just got to put all the other stuff back in. So now, the one thing you can use, this would be a good application, is you could actually put in a lower airflow fan, okay, than what would be in here. And if you wire it so it's on all the time, the power supply will never get up to that temperature that would normally kick the fan on. So if you want to cut down on noise, you could put a fan with a lower RPM or CFM rating to bring the noise level down, or even just put a resistor. I'm not sure what value off the top of my head, but you can put a resistor in line on the fan leg to drop the voltage to reduce the speed. So I've done that before on some custom builds where people want the fans real quiet. So if you're running the fan all the time, it doesn't matter that it's lower flow because of the fact that it's never going to heat up to the point it would have with the traditional fan. And I believe this blew into the case. So your fans blow towards the label usually, where the supports are. And if you remember when we took that apart, we could see the label on the other fan. So I'm going to put this in the same direction as the stock one. And why am I doing this by hand? And just make sure we get the wires in here out of the way of the blades. So mine are going down. And there we go. Make sure my fan blades aren't rubbing. Now we're good. If I recall, I think these fans are a little louder, on the louder side. This is a Sunon. I like me some Sunon fans. They're pretty good. As you guys can see, my work mat's been through quite a bit. It's actually like a big gaming mouse pad deal. Alright, let me see. I got a little test cord so I can test my PSUs that don't have a receptacle hooked up to them. Now these are going to have 120 mains voltage, so I'm going to make sure not to touch them. And if you guys are working with a power supply, make sure not to touch these because that's wall power. And it'll be a shocking experience if you touch them. Alright, let's see. There we go. Fan is spinning. Actually, that's pretty damn quiet. You can see Fan is spinning. I'm going to check my voltage. I think I had this set to 13.5. Just a little more oomph out of my heated bed. Yeah, right around there. So there we go. Fan's working. And I can put this back in my printer, which I'll do later. I'm not going to bore you guys with that. So it's unplugged. I'll let that finish. It's not fully discharged yet. You can see the fan's still spinning. And the light's still on. There we go. If it's reading constant temperature, that means you shorted out the thermistor, the sensor wire to the higher voltage from the PSU at some point. Mario. All right, so yeah, like I said, I'm not sure if this fan actually wasn't coming on or there was an issue with the fan control circuit. The power output is stable on this, but this was definitely a customer return, so it's very possible that the fan control circuit is screwed up, but the output on this is fine, which is why I just wired another fan in, so it's on all the time. Little workaround. I don't like throwing these away, especially when it's just a minor issue like that. But this is one of 3 that I've gotten back that were actually had an issue out of over 600 power supplies sold over the last year and a half. So I like Meanwell. And when the best part is, and the reason I don't mind putting a new fan in here or bypassing it like this is because our supplier credited to us and they don't usually want them back. I've offered to send them back and we'll just send you a new one or give you a credit. So I use them on my own machines because these are not cheap. Even at cost, these are not cheap. These are still over, I think they're right around $40 of shipping at cost. So when I sell a power supply, I barely make $5 on this. So I carry them because I know people want a place to get genuine ones from, because if you order from Amazon, who knows where the hell they're getting them from. We get them from genuine Meanwell resellers, and I will guarantee you that ours are 100% genuine. And if you guys ever get one that's fake, which you won't, I'll take care of it. But we check them all here, and we only get them from genuine suppliers. So you can run any serial number on any of these Meanwells you get from us, and they will come back genuine. Because I don't buy them from random sellers on Amazon or eBay or anywhere. So, questions. Man, I really don't want to edit this video. How many people we got? You guys gonna stick around if I jump on a random stream after? If I just end this and jump on another stream in 5 minutes here, so I don't clutter up this power supply stream? Because now I've kind of got the momentum of answering questions because we're talking about boards and stuff. I like answering questions. All right, so give me like 5-10 minutes. I'm going to jump right back on. And those of you guys watching, this originally was just supposed to be an Under 5 PSU stream to check it. But yeah, I always go off on tangents, so hopefully you guys learned something. Those of you guys that are not sticking around, thanks for stopping by. Make sure you guys like and subscribe, and I'll be back in about 5-10 minutes. See you guys later. And as always, happy printing. Bye-bye now. How many of you guys have this, or this, or this, or even this lying around your printer? Well, it's time to throw them away.
Bye, Felicia.
Because we've got the Easy Flex system that takes all the scraping out of your life. No more cut fingers, no more gouging your bed, and no more wasting time scraping prints off of your printer bed.
Shut up and take my money!